What's going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back for a brand new episode of Chaos Head Noah. Last time on, Takumi decided enough is enough and that he needed some help. Not from other people, but through weapons. So he decides to go get a sword, but not any particular, or not any ordinary sword. He decides to go after the DI sword that the girl mentioned to him before in order to find it. So he goes over to a shady shop over in the next town over and buys a sharp sword that could be a DI sword, which DI stands for delusional sword or something along those lines. But not exactly the most Arthurian type of way to get a sword. He did not pull it out of a stone. He just bought it at a bargain price at some shady shop. But when he returned to school, he is once again, berated or still terrified with Rimi, still unable to accept her existence. That she is well, at least up now, she is his classmate. Whether she was beforehand or not, that really remains to be seen. But a brand new transfer student has just come in named O'Hara, as we saw from before, where she was burning all of her textbooks from her previous school, as her mother told her to move to Shibuya. And after that, we had a interesting scene with Ban and his partner investigating more into Takumi by talking to his teachers at his old elementary school. And there was a subtle hint that that bus accident wasn't really just an accident. We also got a scene of like a shady organization talking to each other about some weird things like an earthquake and probability, or something along those lines. Don't know what that could possibly mean either. I still don't know what is actually going on in this game. I really do not. What's the new gen murders? What's with the shady organization? Is there future scene in this game? Is there, a future version of Takumi and Shogun, or is Shogun a separate personality? Well, I mean, in that one scene, it was shown that Takumi did get up, sweepwalking, and start typing as Shogun, which pretty much confirmed it, right? Unless that was just like a red herring. So, but once again, how did Shogun know the future if it's a second personality of Takumi? Unless, like, the second personality of Takumi has precognition powers, not his, like, surface level personality. I don't know. This game is. All we've gotten is questions and questions and questions and questions. So hopefully this episode will get some answers. Hopefully. But yeah, let's get right into it. And started talking with Grim a lot more before booting up ESO recently, to the point where it became almost like a ritual. It never really mattered what we talked about. We trade interesting or funny at channel threads, go off about porny shit, work each other's other new comics, talk about the anime from the day before, or other various dumb stuff. Funnily enough, we didn't actually talk about ESO very much, but that was just because we had already talked a lot about it while we were playing it. Has there been some weird ass prank going around recently? Not a lot to go off there. Deets, please. I don't know. I just heard about it from someone I know. I don't know if it's actually fat or some shit. It's like... there's a recording of a weird sound and you get that as a voicemail or something. That's right. We also had an interesting call that sent to Takumi of a ambulance siren going off and a lot of shaking, which alludes to an earthquake. Who sent that to Takumi? There's no way it could be Shogun, right? because he was still conscious. So it had to be somebody else. But who the hell would that someone else be? And why exactly send that specific message to Takumi? What would be the point of that? uh, what, like my voice whispering saying nothing to you? Well, what a look is that from? I mean, wouldn't you rather than just do that to you in person? Well, no one cares now whose fucking eyes. No one cares now whose fucking eyes are those eyes. Grim was still saying that. Thanks to that, I started to feel awful pretty much immediately. Not to mention he was talking really weird in chat, to the point where it felt fairly forced, like he was trying way too hard to be funny by shoving those words in. Or at the very least, I didn't find it funny. In fact, it felt more cringy than anything. But I couldn't let myself get angry with him until I got my info about the prank, so I was forced to put up with it. Okay, so it's like the sounds of wild otaku freak fapping then. Okay, that's too far. But in all seriousness, they play You May Pass. You May Pass? What, like the song? The one that plays at crosswalks and shit? Yeah, that one. And then while it's playing, it'll get cut off halfway and swap to a buzzer-like sound. Apparently the volume is ear-raped here. So yeah, ever heard of a prank like that? That's the kind of thing you find floating around that channel, right? Yesterday I got a voicemail with a mysterious buzzer sound. I had no idea who sent it, and the contents unsettled me for some reason, which was why I decided to try and ask Grim if he knew about it. If it was just a simple prank, I could just forget about it. Huh? Grim wasn't responding. Why was he being silent? Oh boy. Hello? Did you die? Still no response. Grim didn't usually fall asleep like this. In fact, this was the first time it ever happened. If he actually had fallen asleep, then I guess I'd just log off. We'd meet up again later in the ESO anyway, so I could just bring it up again then. But the second I thought that, I began to get up from my chair. Get you waiting, huh? I was sifting through that channel, was looking for stuff about your prank. Oh, so that's why he disappeared. But that meant that even the oh-so-well-informed Grim hadn't known about the prank. But no matter how many threads or boards or whatever I searched, I found nothing. Not in that channel, nor anywhere on the net. So would that mean that whoever had pulled that prank had some sort of personal grudge against me? I was still curious about the true identity of the caller, but I wasn't brave enough to call them back. Wait, that's it. Since I knew the phone number, that meant I could have someone else call it for me. That way they could take the fall. The best person for the job would be either Nami or Masumi-kun. Wait, Masumi-kun may have been brainwashed by the demon girl, so that won't work. As for Nami, however, I was sure I had no trouble asking her to do it. She'd probably get pissed at me afterward, but who gives a shit? Hell, if anything, it'd be good for her to suffer the tortures of society every once in a while. I thanked Grim for his help, promised I'd meet back up with him on the ESO in a few hours, and closed the chat. Right as I did so, I felt my stomach growl. Man, I was hungry. Do I have any cup ramen stocked anywhere? I tried looking around for a bit, but I couldn't find any. Reluctantly, I decided to head to the convenience store to buy some. Alright. The sun was already setting. I wanted to avoid going out late at night as much as possible, because every time I did recently, nothing good ever came of it. I unconsciously started walking faster, hurrying down the road towards the convenience store. Today was a Saturday, so I expected to run across a ton of pedestrians, but I hadn't encountered a single one so far. Yeah, it's dead silent. All of the stores that should have been open were closed, which kind of weirded me out. Maybe I was just confused. Like, maybe I thought it was 7 p.m., but when it was actually 2 a.m. Yeah, might that ever happen. But even so, it was way too quiet. could barely hear any of the normal city noises you expect. The aura the city was giving off was different than usual. Damn, it really is quiet. I arrived at the Shinshin Station convenience store. It was right in front of this train station, and yet there wasn't a single person near either. I was starting to get more and more freaked out. The sudden disappearance of something I'd taken for granted was enough to make me feel like I'd been transported to a completely different world. On a normal day, I would always avoid running into or talking to other people, but all I wanted right now was just to see another person's face. I burst inside the convenience store. There has to be someone working here, I thought to myself as I walked around the store. Oh shit, here we go. There's no one here. What? Ooh, what should I go for here? Should I go for a delusion or should I go for no delusion here? Or should I go for a delusion here or no? Yeah. Ooh. I have to say, it does actually provide such a interesting predicament when we're actually getting weirder into the game. So like the more and more weird shit that does actually like happen, it's like, do I want a delusion here and now? Or do I want to like see what actually happens here? And that's a good fucking ooh. I'm really curious what's actually going on. So I want to choose like no delusion for right now because I want to actually know like what the hell is going on here. There's no one here. There are no customers nor any employees.
まさか
This couldn't be happening. An employee had to be in the back. If I were to just bring something up to the register, they should come right out after. So I decided to leisurely grab a boxed lunch, pretended to flip through a manga magazine while I was at it, then come up to the counter and set the box down. No one's coming out. I tried restlessly looking around the store. No one's coming out. I took out my wallet to make sure I had change. No one's coming out. I picked up the box lunch and set it down again, making a small noise. No one's coming out. I couldn't get myself to call out excuse me or anything like that. I couldn't even if there was no one here. No one's coming out. I thought about testing to see what would happen if I tried to leave without paying, but then I decided that it wasn't worth the risk of getting arrested. No one's coming out. The employee must have gone to take out the trash. No one's coming out. Or they were checking the inventory in the warehouse out back. No one's coming out. After enough time had passed, I started feeling scared, so I put the box lunch back on the shelf and left the store. What the fuck? Why is there no one here? Is this a... No. No, it can't be a dream. It's way too realistic. It's way too... We've seen Takayumi's dreams. We know Takayumi is a very vivid dreamer. So I feel like there would be a lot more happening. Yet it's silent. Not a single noise. I opted to go to the railroad crossing located right next to the station. From there, I'd be able to see the Shinshin station platform. There was no way a place like that would be deserted, right? That's what I hoped, but there was no one there. I waited for a train to come. Once that happened, there would be a bunch of passengers that would get off. But even if no one got off, I'd definitely see people running the train as it passed in front of me. Even after 10 minutes, a train still hadn't come. I tried to convince myself that there must have been an accident or something that messed with the schedule, but there were no signs of any passengers on the platform. It was then that I finally realized the gravity of the situation. This was weird. This was really, really weird. That's it. I'll go to Shibuya Station. There absolutely had to be people there. No doubt about it. There were people in front of Shibuya Station 24/7 without fail. I broke into a run without thinking. I ran as hard as I could. I didn't want to stop even if I was out of breath. It was probably the first time in my life that I'd ever run so hard. As I ran, I hoped that this was just some sick dream I was having, but I knew it wasn't. My heart and lungs felt like they were about to explode. The pain was far beyond what you could feel in a dream. It surprised me how unbelievably fast I was breathing. And yet, no matter how much I inhaled, the pain refused to go away. As I kept running down Dokenzaka, I finally saw 107. By the time I did, my legs were already shaky. My body felt extremely heavy. Even so, I forced my feet to keep moving. I no longer had it in me to pay attention to my surroundings. The entirety of my consciousness was focused on scrambled crossing the symbol of Shibuya. Almost there, just a little bit farther. The second I passed 107, I'd be right there. The largest in Japan. It was the place where the largest number of people in Japan came together all at once. That was why I had to get to scramble. Empty. Dude, it is actually quite, spooky of how just how silent the game could be. Just, nothing. That was the seat of Shibuya Station, which I could see from the right junction running in front of 107. The world without sound. The world that felt dead. A place which had always been flooded with overwhelming sound, now ruled by silence. It's always the spookiest things of, being a place where there used to be hundreds, thousands of people that would walk across the street or do their daily mundane task, yet it being empty is such a frightening image, The only thing I could hear was the sound of my own heavy breathing.
そんな
I fell to my knees in the middle of the wide street. Couldn't walk another step. The shock had stolen every last ounce of strength from my body.
ここ渋谷だろ
There was no one to my left, to my right, in front of me, behind me. There was no one anywhere. Even though 7 p.m. on a Saturday night was when Shibuya should have been the most crowded. What was going on? This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. I closed my eyes and cradled my head. There was a dream, an illusion. This couldn't be reality. Yes, it was true that I wanted to live a quiet and peaceful life all by myself. I didn't want anyone to interfere with me, and I didn't want to get involved in anything. But that didn't mean I wanted to live in a world where no one existed. If no one else existed, who would pay for my living expenses? If no one else existed, who would make boxed lunches for me to eat? If no one else existed, who would play ESO with me? Oh. If no one else existed... Whoa. A sound. I'd heard a sound. It hadn't come from me. It'd been from someone else. Someone was here. Someone other than me was nearby. I felt like I had been saved. I thought it was just a coincidence. It only appeared like there was no one here. In truth, no one had disappeared. I wasn't the only one left in the world. I was so relieved that I almost started crying. Turned my gaze towards the sound. What?
君は
Who the fuck? It was a boy in a wheelchair. A short distance away from me, though still in the middle of the intersection. He sat quietly in place. I couldn't quite figure out how old he was. If I had to guess from his size alone, I'd say he looked like he was in elementary school. He was wearing his hat so well that I couldn't see his expression very well. But
やっと会えたね
meet at last. I could hear the boy's voice extremely query. Felt like he was whispering directly into my ear, which made me turn around. Of course, there was no one there.
これどうなってるんですか？
I don't know why, but it's reminding me of the ranger fight from Killer 7. Probably because of the empty, just square. Even though he was younger than me, I ended up speaking formally to him.
どうして誰もいないのか？君は理由を知ってますか？知ってるよ。
Despite how young his voice sounded, there was nothing childish about it.
それより、僕のメッセージは受け取ってくれた？
Message? Oh. Message? What message? I had no idea what he was talking about.
誰だ？君は。
The boy moved his wheelchair forward slightly. The wheelchair was old and made a rusty sound as it came closer to me.
その目誰の目？でしょ？
I was confused. Why had he murmured, "Whose eyes are those eyes" just now? Who was he?
目覚めるんだ。早く。
Awaken?
出ないと。もっとたくさんの人が死んじゃうことになるから。
Whoa.
君は一体。
I rubbed my eyes to wipe away my tears, and because of that, I was finally able to get a clear look at the boy's face. What the fuck? The boy wasn't a boy. His skin was covered with wrinkles like an old man. His cheeks were hollow, his eye sockets had sunken in to an abnormal extent. His pupils were cloudy, he had no eyebrows, and his body was as small as a child's.
僕は将軍だよ。
What? Okay. Alright. So it's a different person. Then what the fuck was that scene where Takumi got up when he was sleeping and typed in a message as Shogun? What, is this guy like fucking Professor Xavier? Like he's able to use psychic powers? Like, what? For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. My head felt like it had been struck by a hammer. The ground was shaking violently. No, my body was falling over. Shot my hands out onto the asphalt to keep myself upright. What had he just said? Shogun. He was Shogun?
忘れないで。君は逃げちゃいけない。
Run away. I lifted up my head and watched as Shogun, he already turned his back to me, left scrambled crossing. His wheelchair was getting farther and farther away, making a creaking sound as it moved. The thought of chasing after him and pressing him for answers didn't even cross my mind. I didn't think of running up and punching him in the face or dragging me into this either. I wasn't even remotely a confrontational person. My head started to hurt. The area around my temples throbbed with pain. Still cowering on the spot, I tried to endure it. In the world without sound, a dissonant noise began to spread, an all-encompassing static. Whose voice was that? What the fuck is going on? Don't look at me. What had previously been just a random, discordant mess of garbled static gradually turned into a real voice. Someone gently placed a hand on my shoulder.
邪魔なんだっつうの。
The hell?
何してんだろうね。
最近の若いもんは
なんかのパフォーマンスじゃないの？
タク。
While still trying to endure the pain of my headache, I looked up. What the hell? The demon girl Rimi was peering on my face as she stood over me. Eyes that looked clear and full of life. Eyes that looked at me and only me. Again, this girl had appeared out of nowhere once again.
歩ける？歩いて。
She wrapped her hand under my arm and tried to make me stand up. I shrieked and shook her off. I came to my senses and looked around. I was still in the middle of the street, but it wasn't deserted anymore. There were people around me in every direction, walking every which way without paying me any mind.
タク。
Rimi, with a face that looked like she was about to cry, reached out to me once more.
今は私の言うことを聞いて。夜だ！
When I screamed, the throbbing in my head transformed into intense stabbing pain. Even so, I ignored it, scrambling back on all fours to try and get away from Rimi.
お前だろ。お前が見せたんだ。お前の妄想だ。
What the fuck is going on?
僕の心を支配して精神攻撃を。この悪魔め。お前なんて剣で殺してやる。ベースに帰れば僕には理想。
An abrupt impact ran through my cheek. It stung with pain and began to eat up. She slapped me. She was going to kill me once and for all. Scurrying back on all fours, I tried as hard as I could to escape with my life. But Rimi quickly grabbed my hand with strength I never thought a girl could have. She pulled me toward her. And embraced me. Her soft form gently enveloped my own. It was so warm, I could smell a tiny hint of sweat. Her silky hair tickled the tip of my nose.
しっかりして。
With such an anticlimax, my whole body felt like it was about to give out.
ここにいたら危ないよ。
Her voice was slightly shaky. I couldn't tell if she was crying or not.
信号赤になっちゃってるから。
I was so confused. Was she not going to kill me? Why was she helping me? Hallucination from before, where all of the people of Shibuya disappeared, it was something she forced me to see? When I felt such a kind, gentle warmth, she'd embraced me so innocently. It shook everything I had believed up until that point. Could it be that Sakahata Rimi wasn't actually a demon at all? Or was it foolish to believe that? What if this was just a cunning way to deceive me? Regardless, one thing was for sure. With Rimi hugging me, I felt an incredible sense of relief. I had no idea what to call such a strange sensation. Upon running go of me, Rimi put my face between her hands and stared at me once again. Her eyes were slightly red.
お願い。今は私についてきて。いい？
For some reason, I nodded. We were standing still, alone in the middle of the empty intersection. A number of people on the sidewalk waiting for the pedestrian signal to change were watching us closely. Could hear a few people laughing here and there. Many cars had their headlights strained on us and were starting to honk their horns. Rimi grabbed my hand tightly and started running towards the sidewalk. She pulled me along with her and I followed. So what the fuck happened there? What? Okay. So I'm gonna guess the stuff with Grim did actually happen. So like when Takumi went outside to get a I guess to get something fucked with his, because we did see something kind of like that with Nanami. Remember where like she said that her brain became fuzzy. static. And she saw her parents on the other side of the street, even though they weren't there. Same thing kind of happened here, because as Takumi described it at the end there, it sounded like static in his brain, like pure static. So, okay. So there's obviously something going on with, as you can see from the billboard here, with the power lines. I feel like there's something going on with the, just like, radio signals. There's something going on there. Maybe, okay, here's my theory. We have two different parties here at work using the power lines as a sort of conduit. One is the organization that we've seen a couple of times before. I know they have a name. I think it was Norizumi, something like that, something like that. Which we see is a big like secret organization doing something, whatever their goals is. Then we have the second party, which is Shogun. So, here's how I'll explain the scene where we saw Takumi get up and start typing as Shogun. What if, because I'm going to guess that's his actual form, like Shogun, what we saw in that sort of dream stance, or stance or whatever. Trance, that's the word. I'm going to guess that's what he actually looks like. What if he uses the power lines, the radios in the air, in order to control Takumi in certain instances, while in others he is able to talk to him directly, as we saw before in the very beginning. You know. Or that could have been like, no, what if that interaction from the very beginning of the game was like the first instance of like Shogun actually talking to Takumi, but instead of being more outlandish, it was a much more simple of just messaging on his computer when it wasn't actually happening. So I'm gonna guess that scene from the beginning was inside of Takayumi's brain, but it's sort of like you cannot tell if it is a dream at all. Like it's sort of like, as we saw here, it's sort of like you can't tell when you've switched over. You like Takayumi did not give any indication that like something happened when he switched over. It just happened. When he went outside, everyone was gone. So obviously Shogun is able to do that in only like, maybe he's able to communicate to multiple people perhaps, but for right now I'm going to assume he's only able to communicate with Takayumi since he is in such a fragile state. So that's how he was able to talk to Takayumi. But what is Shogun's goal? What is the goal of the organization? What the fuck is going on? And what is up with these DI swords? And why do multiple girls have them? What's up with that as well? Still, seems like one question is answered, a million more are fucking asked. With countless horns blaring on us, we made it to the sidewalk. Whitney breathed a sigh of relief and stopped. My hand was still in hers. Just being held in this way made my heart feel more and more at ease. I wanted to submit myself to this feeling. I wanted to stay like this forever. Also, all that doubt and suspicion finally just gone away after a simple slap and a hug. After Takayumi finally got some human affection. It's the best way to put it, you know. After years of being so cynical towards everyone else. Even his own family. I don't know, maybe some affection from a different party just swiped away at least his delusions about Rimi. Rimi turned back in my direction.
無事でよかったね。
She smiled an incredibly happy smile. I don't know whether it was real, an act, or what exactly it was, but
話してよ。
because I had been so hostile to her until now, because I had thought of her as a demon until now, if I let her win me over like this, I felt like I'd cease being myself.
あ、ごめんごめん。
She quickly let go of my hand.
それにしてもびっくりした。タクが道の真ん中でうずくまってるんだもん。信号が赤になった時はどうなることかと。
I turned my back to Rimi as she started talking cheerfully. I walked off, pushing my way through the crowd of people.
僕、帰る。
じゃあ送るよ。具合悪いんでしょ。
Her voice chased me from behind, but I shook my head in refusal.
タク。
The cheerfulness from before had vanished from her voice. I felt terrible considering how much she had done to help me, so I...
ありがとう。
barely, just barely managed to squeeze out those words. Never mind then. To think that the three investigative divisions would actually be merged into one. Staring at the detectives gathered in the Shibuya Police Department's conference room, Ban Yazuji thought that to himself. The Inokishiwa Line Shibuya Station public bathroom homicide case, or as the media called it to amuse themselves, the vampire case, had caused an increasingly serious drop in manpower. When three brutal murders occurred within the same jurisdiction within the same period of time, the possibility of a single perpetrator became more and more evident. The suggestion had been raised that the Cornelius Tower mass suicide case be handled by the Juvenile Division, but since the media had been treating it as a part of New Gen, there was the possibility that if the police treated the case differently, they would be subjected to criticism. Therefore, it was only natural that the central office had chosen the only remaining option to merge the civil investigation headquarters. With this integration now in place, the group was reviewing the series of New Gen cases one by one. The projection screen at the front of the conference room displayed a series of photographs of the crime scenes, one after the other. Zilla had been chosen to hold the presentation. He had stayed up all last night going over the documents endlessly. Good work, Ban muttered internally, chin resting in his hands.
コーネリアスタワー集団投身自殺事件の発生は9月7日っす。です。ニュージェネとマスコミが呼称している4つの事件の中では一番最初に発生してます。午後11時半ごろ、渋谷コーネリアスタワー屋上のヘリポートから男女5人が転落、全員死亡しました。5人は全員未成年の高校生、男が3人、女が2人。ただし5人のうち男女1人ずつだけが同じ学校なだけで、それ以外の3人はいずれも別の学校でした。
So no point of reference are there.
5人それぞれの爪の間にわずかな肉片が残っており、手のひらに引っかき傷があったことが司法解剖で判明しました。
Scratches on the palms of the hands.
そこから5人は互いに手をつないだ状態で転落したと推測されます。屋上には遺書らしきものはなし。被害者5人は学校帰りに待ち合わせてコーネリアスタワーへ向かったようです。なお、事件性があることを示す根拠としては、コーネリアスタワー屋上が関係者以外立ち入り禁止であったことが挙げられます。事件があった時間、屋上への扉は施錠されており、その扉のドアノブに被害者5人の指紋は付着してませんでした。また、5人の遺品からも扉の鍵は見つかっていません。このことから、被害者以外の第三者が事件前後にその現場にいた可能性があります。 その第三者が扉の鍵を持っており、事件前あるいは事件後に鍵を閉めて立ち去ったという線で捜査を続けてます。コーネリアスタワーのホテル従業員全員への聞き取り調査は終了。ほぼ全員にアリバイがありました。今はタワーに入っている企業の社員に話を聞いているところです。
Damn.
被害者たち5人には今のところ自殺する理由は見つかっていません。家族、友人、学校の教師など5人中4人の関係者が口を揃えて自殺する理由などないと断言しています。
Oh, Jesus. The slideshow swapped to a picture of the second case, the Shibuya Station Underground and fetus homicide case.
続いて通称妊娠男事件についてですが、事件発生は9月19日、通称集団ダイブ事件から12日後。
It's very interesting. It starts like the first incident is like the biggest one with 5 people. Then it downsizes to 1 person per like murder. So what is the point after the like first one being like 5?
第一発見者は現場近くのカラオケ店店員。遺体発見は午前5時前後。被害者は渋谷区在住の大学3年生近衛千鶴21歳。発見された時にはすでに死亡してました。死亡推定時刻は遺体発見の約4時間前、19日の午前1時頃です。遺体は腹部が不自然に大きく膨れ上がっており、中から胎児が発見されました。司法解剖の結果、被害者は生きたまま腹部を何者かに切開され、胃の中に胎児を入れられたようです。
Jesus.
胎児はすでにその時点で亡くなっていたと思われます。被害者が死亡したのは腹部を縫合された後、縫合した部分をかきむしったり、縫合糸を一部引きちぎった形跡が見られました。胎児は妊娠8ヶ月ぐらいの状態で、母親の体から帝王切開で取り上げられたと考えられます。胎児の母親については今のところ見つかってません。その生死についても不明です。 DNA 鑑定の結果、胎児と被害者には血縁関係はありませんでした。ちなみに胎児の血液型は B 型、被害者の血液型は A 型です。
So I took a breath. He seemed exhausted from all the talking. Furthermore, he must have been awfully nervous giving the presentation in front of so many senior detectives.
次に第3の事件、丸山町貼り付け殺人事件です。
After a short delay, the next slide displayed a photo of the crucifixion crime scene.
これが現場写真です。
Interesting. Way less, brutal than I remember it.
事件発生は9月29日。被害者は太田久志56歳、都東大学教授。
Like, way less brutal. Like, really way less brutal than what Takumi saw.
第一発見者は現場のすぐ近くのアパートに住む男性。被害者の死因は絞殺でした。殺害された後で10本程度の釘を使って貼り付けにされていました。
Strangulation, okay.
見ての通り、遺体には外傷はほとんどありません。釘についても貼り付けは一部肉体を貫通しているものもありましたが、基本的には衣服を通して貼り付けられている状態です。
Oh. To his clothing?
マスコミでは貼り付け、血の惨劇などと謳われてますが、出血は全くなし。
Oh, that's interesting.
釘はドイツのクロイツナーゲル社が販売している特徴的な長い十字架のような杭です。 犯人が十字架型をあえて選んだということから、宗教的な側面からも捜査を進めてます。事件の起きた21時から21時半の間に 現場周辺で壁に杭を打ちつける音が数十分続いていたという証言が複数得られました。被害者の死亡推定時刻がほぼそれと同じ時間であることから、おそらく被害者は現場かそのすぐ近くで殺害されたと思われます。また信憑性は怪しいですが、事件現場で私立水明学園の女生徒を見たという証言も上がってます。最後に井の頭線渋谷駅トイレ殺人事件、通称ヴァンパイア事件です。事件発生は10月10日、遺体発見は午前5時半頃、駅員が発見しました。
Yeah, all green and shit.
被害者の身元は今のところ不明。身元を示すような遺留品は一切ありませんでした。死亡推定時刻は前日の午前10時から午後6時の間。遺体の血液は全て抜かれており、まるでミイラのような状態で放置されていました。ご存知の通り、この写真が何者かによって撮影され、遺体発見より15分ほど前にインターネットのオークションに出品されており、
As he listened to Suawa's explanation, Ben gave a white click of the tongue. Seems like death is what's in these days. Death truly is. Oh, chapter 3 done. Okay, cool. Chapter 4, DI Sword. Science City was a pair of buildings located just south of the Shibuya Scramble Crossing. A small plaza rested in front of the entrance to the east building. While it was not nearly as big as the ones in front of Haichijo, the Moai statue, or other popular destinations, it still found itself used quite often as a meeting place. Even now, around a dozen people were staring at their cell phones, waiting for their engagements to begin. No. Among those few, only one girl wore an oddly stern expression on her face as she idled, a high school student known as Aoi Sena. Yes, Aoi. She was standing next to the escalator leading down from the Inokashin wine station. She leaned her back against a nearby white pillar as she thoroughly scanned the environment with her gaze. In contrast to both the sharpness of her gaze and the season, she was nibbling on a popsicle, which in turn made her appear incredibly charming to the casual observer. In truth, the girl was not waiting for anyone, but was instead quietly observing the passers-by. From where she was standing, she could see all the way to the Jumbotron located at Scramble Crossing. A music video from a famous singer was being displayed on it, and on the lower portion of the screen, a news ticker was reporting the latest information on the recent string of incidents, colloquially referred to as New Gen. Not a day went by without New Gen-related news. It was everywhere. TV, newspapers, the internet, weekly magazines, jumbotrons, electronic billboards, everywhere. Although Senna had absolutely no interest in the phenomenon, she would often overhear people speaking about it as she passed them by on the streets of Shibuya. Whose eyes are those eyes? Over the past few days, she had begun to see several people wearing t-shirts with those words emblazoned on them. You know what? That's so true. You know what? Yeah. That's just with any popular saying nowadays. Hell, you may say, well, isn't there a bit of a stretch if, like, a murderer wrote it on the wall? By this point in the year of 2025, I would fucking believe it. Like, it is quite incredible how quickly phrases catch on. In Shibuya, the phrase had become popular as an obscure meme and was now starting to really take off. Despite the brutal scene the words originated from, people happily walked on down the streets, raving about how well the shirts were selling at souvenir shops in Harajuku, a clear indication of how disinterested people were in anything other than themselves. Yeah, murder is in nowadays. Damn, she ate all of that popsicle. Senna snorted quietly in the contemptuous display, finished the last bite of her popsicle, and closed her eyes softly without losing her stern expression. Nice popsicle stick. Does it have like a joke written on it? She listened carefully to the noise of the city, an abundance of different sounds billowed in front of the station on the Sunday afternoon. The roar of trains arriving at the platform, the blaring horns of taxis, people walking and talking, the background music coming from the jumbotrons and from inside the Cyan City stores, the announcements telling people how to safely ride the escalators. The sounds were never allowed to end. Before one sound finished, another one would appear, creating a multi-layered discord that rang throughout the station. In the midst of all the discordant noise, Senna focused her attention only on the people's voices. Her mind blocked out all other sound, and their words soon became clear.
結局全部同じ
違
犯人
うってニュー
なのかな
スで言ってたぞ。手口が違いすぎるって怖くね？バンドの歌詞と一緒らしいじゃん。ファンタズムな。お前らバンドの歌詞だけで今時ファンタズム知らないなんてさ。CD 貸せよ。くれてるよな。ほら、これ見てくれよ。この前から超ゲルに埋めてたんだ。超マジで来てるやつ初めて見た。
The
でもあれじゃね
voices of the
これっ
people.
てニュージェネの犯人に殺してくださいってアピールしてるようなもんじゃん。俺もいよいよ全国デビューか。
最近渋谷超怖くない？マジ嘘にやるけねえもん。入場欲しいよな。そういうやつが殺される可能性かないじゃない？おじさんたち女だし。キモい男とかだけ殺してほしいよね。マジ応援する。
A short click of the tongue escaped from Senna's mouth, and she stopped listening soon after. There was nothing of value to be found in any of the noise. After all, noise was simply that, noise.
この視線の感覚、気のせいか。
Ooh. Once more, Senna examined her surroundings. For a while now, she had been feeling a repulsive sensation, like cold fingers caressing her spine, a gaze being cast upon her by an unknown entity, one with which she was unable to pinpoint exactly what the source was. Senna pushed herself off the pillar she was leaning against. Then, as if she had just remembered something, she stared down at the popsicle stick in her hand.
外れか。
Gradually, growing more and more discontent, she wrinkled her brow and began to walk quickly towards the station. So I lost, huh? What does she mean by that?
あの空はどうしてあんなに泣きたくなるくらい青いのかな。
Because someone wished for it to be.
私は望んでない。
No, but I did. What the hell? Because this place is your image world, but at the same time it is mine as well.
ねえ、あの空はどこにあるの？
Wherever you wish for it to be.
望んでいいの？
What the Okay, that had to be a dream of Takumi's. Saraton was calling me. That's the only explanation that makes sense. Last night's EP of Bloodtune was awesome. Saraton played a huge part in it, and there was a super hot kiss scene. And actually quality was practically movie tier too. Saraton was calling me. Plus, she was saying such moe things that I couldn't not wake up. I tore the blanket off my body and got up from the sofa with a groan. I have to say, I really like the voice compressor on that. Like, it really does sound like a shitty, like, alarm clock or like from a toy or whatever. I don't know. I feel like that's just such a neat detail. The moment I turned off my alarm clock, the voice of Saratan that had been echoing throughout the room disappeared.
おはよう、セーラ。
The Sarah alarm clock I had was very useful. If I didn't turn it off, the volume would slowly get louder and louder, and if I still didn't get up, an obnoxious buzzer sound would ring out. I wanted it to be Saratan who woke me up in the morning, so I made it a point to wake up and turn it off before the buzzer. I had only failed to do so once or twice so far. After all, being woken up by Saratan was a great way to start the day. Waking up was the absolute worst. I played Vidya until dawn, and the couch had been extremely uncomfortable once I actually had gone to sleep, but having her to wake me up helped me alleviate some of that pain. Today was a school day. I'd skipped a day last week, so my minimum attendance chart was really starting to fall apart. With the chart, I was only slated to go twice this week, but because of that deviation, I was stuck with having to go a few times instead. I didn't want to go, but it'd be much worse if I didn't. If I missed any more days, I wouldn't be able to graduate. Then again, whether or not I graduated made no difference to me, to be honest. Just a moment ago, I'd been having a dream with Rimi, and it was a strange dream. One that felt terribly wistful. One that felt terribly lonesome. One that felt terribly sad. And one that felt terribly distant. Would Rimi come to school today? I've been thinking about the day before yesterday constantly. I've been thinking about it so often that I even forgotten to play ESO yesterday. There'd been the appearance of Shogun and the delusion where every person in Shibuya disappeared, but I was barely giving either of those things any thought. It had to have just been a delusion of mine. There was no way Shogun could be such an old man. The idea of people just appearing from Shibuya or whatever was completely ridiculous, so there's no point worrying about it. It'd been a horribly realistic delusion, sure, but the fact that I'd allowed myself to fall for something so unrealistic so easily and get all freaked out about it was just embarrassing. But regardless, above all else, I was thinking about Rimi, the girl I'd been calling the demon girl until only a couple of days ago. Most of what I felt back then was shaky and surreal, as if it were some sort of dream, but I could still vividly remember the sensation of Rimi's body embracing my own. If she hadn't done that, I could have gone insane and lost myself completely. Why had Rimi saved me? Maybe 'cause we really were friends. I didn't have any memories of us being classmates now, let alone since first year, nor did I remember going to the movies with her along with Masumi-kun. But the way she treated me was different. Definitely how you treat a real close friend. She'd even seemed like she'd been close to crying when she held me. That, at the very least, I didn't think was an act. That was the first time I had ever seen a girl care about, well, won't cry over an otaku freak like me. When she treated me like that, all of my fears and suspicions were blown away in an instant. In fact, it made me feel like I might fall in love with her. No, I absolutely couldn't let myself do that. Confusion invaded every corner of my mind. How was I supposed to act around Rimi from now on? Was Rimi my ally or my enemy? Was Rimi the new gen culprit? She'd saved me, that's an undeniable fact. But it was just as much of a fact that I'd seen her standing still as could be at the scene of the crucifixion covered in blood. On my way to school, I stopped by Shoto Park. After what happened with Yua, I put a stop to my habit of eating breakfast there before going to school. There was no way I could feel even remotely relaxed when I thought that Yua could be watching me from anywhere. And even if I ignored that, if she came up to talk to me, she would start going off about her irritating, delusional schizo bullshit all over again. I didn't want anything to do with a girl like her. Yua was Rimi's underling. Sure, my original guess may have been incorrect. But that didn't mean that Yua wasn't my enemy. It was still possible that Shogun was the boss of the whole thing and Yua was one of his underlings. Either way, I knew I'd be better off staying as far away from her as I could. And yet I found myself coming here today for some reason. I examined my surroundings carefully to make sure that I couldn't see you anywhere, and once I knew the coast was clear, I slowly sat down on my usual bench. I took a bite of the chocolate bread I'd bought from the convenience store, then looked out at the pond. There was next to no wind, and the surface of the water was calm and serene. Could see the occasional shadows of carp-esque fish gliding through the murky water. The park was unusually empty today. It was a very quiet spot. As my gaze wandered across the park, I couldn't help but think about Rimi. To be honest, I've been dreading going to school today. I knew I'd have to face her if I did. That was the real reason why I was stalling at the park. I felt like I'd said a lot of awful things to her. And yet, the smile on her face never faltered. She always treated me like I was a close friend. And I was sure that when I went to school today, she would keep on doing that as if nothing had even happened. She'd smile and talk to me like we were friends, pretending that she didn't even care at all about what happened in front of 107. It was hard to put into words, but I felt a little bit annoyed by her constant cheerfulness. Yet at the same time, I also ended up feeling more cheerful myself when I was with her. I wasn't sure how to act once I did run into her. It was true that I didn't think she was a demon anymore. But honestly, I didn't think of her as a friend either. Sumi-kun had said that she and I had been really close classmates for the past year and a half, but I didn't remember anything like that at all. Maybe it really was because of the person controlling me. But making my memories of Rimi and only Rimi disappear with pinpoint accuracy like that, there's no way that was possible. But, well, I mean, if we're continuing on from my theory that Shogun does control Takumi every so often, he could do that, but for what reason, though? Or maybe someone else. Upon entering the school building, I lowered my head even farther towards the ground. As was my usual MO, I kept close to the wall and walked slowly towards the staircase. My class was on the 3rd floor. Getting up there was a pretty big hassle. They could really use an escalator or something. When I reached the foot of the staircase, I spotted a girl climbing unsteadily up the stairs. She was dragging her white leg a little as she walked. Maybe she twisted it. Her petite body swayed from side to side. She looked extremely unstable. As other students passed by her one after the other, the girl slowly continued to climb, exactly one step at a time. Watching her from below, I would be able to see her panties any second now. God damn it, Takumi. Shit, if I kept this up, I'd be labeled a total pervert. The last thing I needed was to go in front of a mirror and see myself as Bill Clinton or some shit. Bill Clinton, huh? That is one hell of a reference, bud. I mean, shit, this game came out, what, 2004, 2003? Around there, so I guess Bill Clinton was like 98, right? If I remember correctly. I did not have sexual relations with Chaos Ed. With that thought in mind, I stepped onto the stairs in order to pass the girl, but right when I did... Oh shit. The girl caught the tip of her shoe on one of the steps and she immediately staggered. Aw. She then fell down so hard you could almost feel the crash sound effect. Fortunately, she ended up falling on the landing, so she hadn't fallen down this entire staircase. She was still down on her knees from the pain, though, and was staying pretty still. Could this be a flag? Yeah, no way. Even if it was, calling out to her or anything remotely similar would be impossible for me. So I hurriedly swept past her. Come on, man! Come on! God damn it, Taki! You fucking bitch. Sorry, but you should get some womanizer who's actually into 3D to help you. Someone like Masumi-kun. You really should rely on me. But the girl was staying curled up in the ground so motionally, I started to get a little worried. I was halfway up the stairs when I slowly turned back around to check on her. Thank you, yes! Fucking, goddamn it, man up! The girl is gripping onto the railing and trying her absolute hardest to stand back up. Her knees are trembling. She looked like a newborn fawn or something. Her knee was oozing blood. Maybe she scraped it.
Huh?
Her face, I'd seen it before. Wasn't she the girl transferred into my class last week? What was her name again? Can't remember. Oh wow, she was crying. Did it hurt that badly? Fall had definitely been pretty bad, but not bad enough that she'd cry from it. There was nobody else willing to lend her a hand. After just barely managing to stand up, she bent forward and peered down at her knee. She must have been checking to see if she heard it. Transfer student wiped away her tears, sat down her bag on the spot, and started rummaging around inside it. What's she looking for, I wondered. Suddenly, she raised her hand above her hand in a triumphant manner. Grasped in her hand was a band-aid. Our eyes met. The transfer student went red in surprise soon after, then hung her head. Regardless, she looked like she was okay, so I was sure she'd be fine without me. Thinking that, I hurriedly made my way to class. That was one hell of an interaction. I don't know why. That was actually like really well animated in my head. I could clearly see her get the fucking band-aid from her backpack, and as soon as she held it up in her hands, it's like Legend of Zelda style. Like do. But that was cute. As per usual, I kept my head down and my gaze fixed on my toes, while still remaining silent when I took my seat. When I sat down, I remembered that the transfer student had said something to me on the day she transferred. I'm so happy we're in the same class, or something. I forgot all about it after everything with Rimi, but I wondered what she meant by that.
Yo, Taku.
Still, according to routine, Masumi called out to me. Maybe he didn't have any other friends besides me. He'd always talk to me and no one else, so I was starting to genuinely suspect that.
聞いてくれよ。昨日さ、怪しいおっさん2人が校長室に入ってくのを見たんだ。は？で、俺とリミトでこっそり盗み聞きしてみたらびっくりしたぜ。
Oh shit, it's fucking bad, isn't it?
その2人、刑事だったんだぜ。
Yup.
え？
Detectives?
なんか深刻そうに全校生徒の名簿とか見ててよ。もしかしてニュージェネと関係あんのかな？
Maybe the true new gen culprit was someone at this very school. I couldn't help it, but a face popped into my mind. Rimi's.
なあ、盗み聞きしてたら見事にバレちゃったんだけどね。
I jumped. Speaking of the devil, Jesus Christ, I felt my heart rate weep when I heard Rimi's voice invaded the conversation. Couldn't look up. I was too nervous, but there's this completely different kind of nervousness than last week's.
あれはお前がドア勝手に開けたせいだぞ。分かってんのか？
しょうがないでしょ。本物の刑事さんって見るの初めてだったからちょっと興奮しちゃってつい。
The real
何
detective.
どうやったらついドアを開けるんだよ。おかげで俺らまで刑事から話を聞かれる羽目になったんだからな。
ふん。大臣ってば刑事さんに聞かれちゃまずいことでもあったの？
そういうお前はどうなんだ？
さあね。
Misumi-kun and Rimi were having a conversation with my desk sandwiched in between them. They were completely ignoring my existence. But to be honest, I was grateful for that. Even if Rimi did talk to me, I didn't have any faith that I'd be able to say anything back. I was hoping that the bell would ring before they got the chance to say anything to me, but when I glanced at the clock, I saw they were still about 5 minutes until class started.
そういやタク、ここに来る途中で梢ちゃん見なかったか
Kosei-chan? Who?
ああ、そっか。どうせお前のことだから
覚えてねえとは思ったけど、マジでそうだったんだな。先週転校してきた子のことだよ。鳥原梢ちゃん。
Oh, that's her last name, Kuze. Ohara Kuze-chan. Oh, so that was her name, Ohara Kazue.
階段で
階段？
見た。
お、そっか。じゃあもうすぐ来るな。
Oh, come on, man. Nasumi-kun's voice gave off an aura of intense enthusiasm. I hadn't seen him this energetic since a few days ago when he found out that FES was from the next class over. In other words, I'd never seen him give his all for anything except girls. Which reminded me that just last week, Masumi-kun had already gone to hit on the transfer student the moment she arrived. He fucks anything that moves, bro. Come on, Masumi. Or hits on anything that moves, really. It's the best way to describe it. You really are incorrigible. You've got a girlfriend and everything. I hope you're real proud.
なあ、梢ちゃんってマジ可愛いと思わねえ？
He asked me something I had trouble answering. I moved my head down ambiguously, which he apparently took as a yes.
太郎、俺一目で気に入っちまったよ。なんか守ってやりたくなるんだよな。
Dude, you fall for any girl that you see.
男子みんなも同じ意見だよ。どいつも可愛いって言ってんだ。けどよ、女子の間じゃあんま評判良くねえんだよな。
Damn.
まだ転校してきたばっかだぜ。それなのに早くもうざいみてえな意見まで出てきてんだよ。このクラスの女子って性格悪いやつ多すぎだ。
それって大臣のせいじゃないの？だいたいそのうざいって言ったのどうせ大臣の彼女でしょ？
Oh, shit.
ああ、そうだけど。
そりゃあ彼女にしてみればうざいに決まってるよ。自分の彼氏が目の前で折原さんを口説きに行っちゃってたらさ。私でさえよく喧嘩売られるんだから。大輔君に近寄らないでって。しかも一人じゃなくて何人かから言われた。
マジ？
自覚なしか。少しは反省したら？
いやー、モテる男は辛いぜ。
これだよ。さすが女の敵。私フォローしてあげないからね。あ、折原さん来た。
なんか怪我してるみたいじゃね？
本当だ。どうしたんだろう。
She got hurt back when I saw her in the stairs. I obviously wasn't going to tell them that though. Trying to avoid talking to Rimi in any way possible.
俺、ちょっと行ってくれ。
Masumi-kun ran up to where the transfer student was. Thanks to that, Rimi was the only one left standing close to my desk. Masumi-kun, please don't go. Let's go with... Well, say it first. But we gotta have at least one delusion this episode. And I'm gonna go off for a good one. Right. Good one. Rimi didn't say anything, but she didn't move away from his seat either. Considering the fact that I was hunched over so far on my desk that I could nearly sink my teeth into it, I couldn't see her expression. All I could see was her waist, but if that were true, then that would mean she had to be facing me. In other words, she was looking at me. Let's get a little delusional here, folks. Time to take a shot. I should work up some courage and act natural.
おはよう、崎畑さん。
Alright, first contact went well. But just when I started to feel weak, Rimi tilted her head to the side with a frown.
ねえタク、なんで急に妙竹林の呼び方するの？
妙竹林。
先畑さんなんてなんだか他人行儀。今までみたいに呼んでよ。
Like I normally did, but I didn't even know what that was.
じゃあリミ。
お、なんだいタク。
いや特に何もないけど。
じゃあ私から一言。
Rimi cleared her throat, looked around the room, and then brought her face close to mine.
タクは大地みたいになっちゃダメだよ。ああいう女たらしはいつかひどい目に遭うに決まってるから。
あ、うん。肝に銘じておくよ。
タクのそういう素直なところ、私好きだな。
She likes something about me, huh? In other words, from Rimi's point of view, was I the honest, neutral character archetype?
そもそも私、大地のことで一つだけどうしても許せないことがあるんだよね。あれだけあちこちの女子に声かけてるのに、私には全く見向きもしないってこと。ひどいと思わない？
ミスミ君に口説かれたいの？
I guess that wasn't surprising. He was a total alpha in terms of looks, and he was fun to talk to. Even if you're stuck with him with a penalty for being a playboy, he'd probably still be the type any girl would like to go on with. But despite what I thought she was talking about, Rimi frowned and shook her head.
タク、冗談きついよ。大地に口説かれるなんて想像しただけで鳥肌立っちゃう。
She wrapped her arms around herself and made a big show out of pretending to shiver.
私はノーサンキュー。でもなんていうのかな、女としてのプライドっていうものがあるわけじゃない？ねえ、タクから見て私ってどう？魅力ある？
Yeah, you're asking me something that's real hard to answer.
どう？
And it didn't help that her eyes were twinkling and she was clearly bursting with anticipation. That's, of course I thought she was attractive, but it'd take a lot of courage to say it out loud.
認めたくないものだな。
No one likes to admit it.
若さゆえの過ちというものを。
引っかかった。
Wonder what that's a reference to. Let's see. Short for the full quote, no one likes to admit to them to the mistakes they've made because of their youth. A quotation from an extremely popular mecha series, often followed up with various lines about youth, such as, "That's what it is to be young." Now, this is a reference I actually don't know about, maybe because I don't watch any mecha at all. Haven't actually watched any mecha anime at all, or hell, even read one. Rimi smiled triumphantly. Was she actually an otaku? There's no way. Smiled a bitter smile on defeat. But even though the conversation was completely normal, I found myself having a lot of fun. Up until now, I'd almost never had this kind of conversation with a girl before. I didn't know why, but I felt like we clicked pretty well together. Which was why I was able to say what came next so naturally.
リミは魅力的だよ。
Rimi exaggerated, threw her head backwards, and her face instantly turned beet red.
面と向かって言われると恥ずかしい。でもありがとう。タクにそう言ってもらえるとすごく嬉しい。大地に口説かれるより1億兆倍嬉しい。
1億兆なんて桁はないけど。
なんとなくニュアンスで分かってよ。それだけスケールの大きい嬉しさってこと。
That was just a nice. That was just a nice. That was just a nice scene. like there was, that is genuinely the first illusion where nothing really happened. It was just a nice scene. I feel like that that scene really, really showcases what Takumi thinks of Rimi at this point. Like, he just wants to strike up a conversation with her. Not like have fantasies about her, but like just have a conversation with her. Just have a normal conversation. And that's so like, you know, like beautiful in a way. That's all he wants is just a conversation. So that's what it is to be young. If only I could have that kind of conversation daily. Yeah. Every day of my life would be fun and fulfilling. How I saw the world would change completely. But at the end of the day, now it's just an illusion. The me in reality couldn't even make eye contact with me. I just kept my head down, didn't move, and stayed silent. I despised my own cowardice, so I was hit with a fierce wave of depression.
Taku?
Rimi, who had been silent the entire time, finally called out to me, albeit hesitantly. But I couldn't respond to how sudden it was. Terry probably felt like I was ignoring her. In my head, I knew I couldn't keep acting like this, but in the end, I still couldn't get myself to do anything.
大丈夫?
This time I nodded frantically, probably made me look pretty suspicious.
そうだったらいいんだ。
Rimi's voice was gentle. Could hardly believe it, but she seemed like she was going to continue patiently being with me, even though I was being silent. Are you okay? Was what she said. I felt the sudden urge to ask her something I wanted to ask. Back when we met in front of 107, what did it look like to you? Considering the fact that she hadn't mentioned anything in particular, it seemed like she didn't know anything about the people temporarily disappearing from the streets of Shibuya, nor anything about the wheelchair-bound Shogun. Which would probably mean it's just been one of my delusions after all. That was why I wanted to ask her. But I didn't think I'd be able to look up and do so after all this time. Either way, I couldn't do it today. I couldn't even prepare myself to ask her. So next time then, I'll ask her the very next time I came to school. Yeah, she probably organized the questions I wanted to ask her about before then.
ねえタク、折原さんがこっち来たよ。
The transfer student? Why was she coming over here? Was she going to come down on me for not helping her on the stairs earlier? But she didn't seem like the type of person to do that. Or maybe she wasn't coming up to me, but she actually wanted Rimi for something. The transfer student came up to Rimi, then stopped. She didn't say anything. What the hell? As long as Rimi was here, I couldn't raise my head. The transfer student's toes were fidgeting, but she still didn't try to say anything.
折原さん、どうしたの?
For some reason, the new student timidly then placed a single bandage on the edge of my desk. It was a fancy one with a picture of that weird character, Gregor Fragi, emblazoned on it.
Huh?
Was she giving it to me? How do I react? The Zohara Kazooie girl was kind of weird. Oh, damn!
折原さん、泣かないで。
What? Was she crying? Why was she crying? Was it because I didn't say anything? But the transfer student hadn't said anything to me either.
タクは怒ってるわけじゃないと思うよ。
Rimi swooped in to cover for me. Come to think of it, that was a little bit odd. I didn't know next to anything about Rimi, yet she knew a lot about me.
彼ってあんまり人と目を合わせようとしないの。引っ込み思案ってやつ。だからそんなにガチガチに緊張しなくてもね。え、 私にも絆創膏くれるの？ありがとう。
With that, the transfer student bowed her head deeply to Rimi. Then she sped her way back to her seat. It was almost like she was running away or something. Alright then.
なんだかよくわかんないんだけど、タク、その絆創膏もらってあげるべきだと思う。
Also, for some reason, even though she didn't say any lines, Ohara's voice actress sounded familiar. Like, real familiar. Why ain't she giving it to me?
梢ちゃん、無口だよな。
I got the feeling Masumi-kun had come back.
転校初日に俺が校内を案内したんだけどよ。うわぁ、早くも手出したんだ。まだ出してねえっつうの。
Yet.
で、まあ1時間ぐらいかけてあちこち回ったんだけど、もう俺一人で延々と喋り続けたよ。あん時はさすがにじーっと疲れたぜ。しかもすぐ泣きべそかく。そうそう、今も急に泣き出したから何が起きたかと思ってあたふたしちゃった。そんだけピュアなんだよな。あたく、お前ならわかるだろ。梢ちゃんの仕草一つ一つの可愛さってのがよ、お前流に言うなら萌えってやつだ。
Indeed speak.
なんだ、クソでも我慢してんのか？
Take a shit. Shook my head from side to side as hard as I could.
たく、さっきからちっとも喋ってくれないんだ。
Yeah, that's because you're here. I wasn't ready for that. I had never talked to a friend who was also a girl all friendly before. Then again, I never had a single female friend before. Not for my entire life.
でもさ、今折原さんと話してみてなんとなく思ったんだけど、彼女と話してるとなんだか疲れちゃいそうかもなんて。女子ってのはマジで同性に対して容赦ねえな。ま、梢ちゃんは俺が守るからいいけどな。ほんの数十秒前に大チーム相手するの使えたって言ってなかった？うっせ。梢ちゃんはタクと同じ匂いがするぜ。ほっとけねって感じ？あ、それはわかるかも。
The sound of the bell told me that all classes were done for the day. Taking wood off, I backed up my things, got up from my desk, and left the classroom. I couldn't stand the settled distance I felt between me and Rimi for a second longer, so I want to get out of the classroom ASAP. Besides, I also had to stop by Manga Drake today. In the end, I hadn't been able to say a single word to Rimi. I'd had several chances to talk to her, but just like this morning, I kept my mouth locked shut the entire time. Might have screwed up by doing that. It would make it even more difficult to talk to her the next time I saw her. I was sinking deeper and deeper into the thick swamp that was trying to figure out how the hell to act around Rimi.
あ、お兄。
Just as I was about to leave the school building, I was hit with the voice of a certain irritating person. Nanami came running up to me, holding a trash can in her hands. She must have been in the middle of taking it out. Fortunately for me, the bitch spotted me. So I tried to ignore her and speed my way out of there, but just like usual, Nanami refused to let that happen. The hem of my uniform was pulled tightly from behind.
妹見て逃げるなって何度言えばわかるの？
なんだよ。
なんだよじゃないよ。お兄が逃げるからナナもつい追いかけちゃうんじゃん。
Okay, then don't chase after me if you don't need something.
相変わらず家に電話かけてこないし、まあナナはもう諦めたけど、どうせお兄が真面目に連絡入れてくるとは思えないもんね。
Wow, she actually understood me for once. Then again, I didn't know how she wouldn't, being my sister and all, even though I had no need in the slightest for a 3D one.
というわけでこれからも定期的にナナがお兄の部屋に様子見に行くから感謝してよね
Damn it, of course it come to this. I could somehow be freed from the curse of my obnoxious little sister. Hell, even though it never happened, I at least deserve some form of compensation for putting up with her. Come on, man. I thought about that kind of thing daily. Alright. Oh, that was it. This was my chance to put my plan from earlier into action. If I was lucky, it might even work as a modest form of revenge. I checked my surroundings, and I started walking towards the courtyard, signaling for Nanami to follow me.
何
ちょっと来てくれ
Oh, call the
No,
fucking
no.
guy back,
なんか
yeah.
あるの
She was so unbelievably annoying. Was she incapable of following me or something? What a fucking idiot. It is such to a comical degree how much Takumi fucking hates Nanami. It is so comical. Was she incapable of fucking following me or something? Ah, what a stupid bitch.
ナナミに大事な頼みがある
What adds onto it so more is Takayumi's inner thoughts. Man, fucking stupid bitch can't even follow directions. Oh, she's just sitting here, just have the happiest face. She's having this pose. It's just so fucking funny.
え頼みお兄がなのに
Nanami's eyes went wide.
珍しいじゃんお兄が頼み事なんて
とにかく黙ってついてこいって
あちょっと待ってよ
There were many people in the courtyard. During lunchtime, the place was always crowded with students eating lunch, but the only people who bothered coming here after school were from the garden club or whatever.
で頼みって
Nanami lowered the trash can she was carrying to the ground and gave a big grin as she puffed out her chest.
条件はマクで汚りねその条件飲んでくれるんなら本当は嫌だけどお兄の頼み聞いてあげる
Mickey D's. Every little goddamn thing she did pissed me off. Couldn't believe she actually wanted me to pay her back for this. And hope that I already treated her to Mickey D's before too. Forget it.
わかったおごる
本当今日のお兄いつもと違うね
Well, yeah, because I was lying. Saws for being a liar. Whoa. Well, with that, I handed Nami my cell phone. They then asked her to call the prank caller's number was stored in my call history. Saved 73391.
着歴の番号にかける相手は誰
ネットの知り合い
Nanami was tilting her head with a suspicious expression on her face, so I quickly told a lie that would seem plausible to her.
どうして7がかけるの
かければわかる
なんか企んでない
Oh my god, shut the fuck up! All you have to do is just shut up and do what I say! If you can't even do that, then just go home! I have no use for you!
じゃあもうお前には頼まない
I went to snatch back the cell phone, but Nanami pulled her hand back, evading me.
あ、わかったってかけるよかければいいんでしょほんとわがままなお兄だな
Yeah, you should talk. Choking back my anger, I watched with bated breath as Nanami dialed the number in question. It's gonna be normal now. Nanami, blissfully unaware, put the cell phone to her ear and waited for them to answer. I noticed that on the hand she was holding the cell phone with, she was wearing a yellow bangle. That was the one I'd given her, wasn't it? Then again, it was more something she decided to appropriate rather than me actually giving it to her. She even wore it when she went to school. Did she really like it that much? Even though it was just some cheap-ass bangle I got for free. Nami really did have no taste at all. Not that I could really speak for anyone else, though. Just didn't matter at all right now. Anyway, who was going to answer the phone? Would it be some scary DQN piece of garbage? Best case scenario, just be a prank and had nothing to do with Shogun or Yua.
あ、もしもし。
Someone must have picked up, so Nanami called out as she covered the receiver with her hand. Noitsu raised her eyebrows soon after. She then thrust the phone back in my direction.
おに
なんだ
なんだじゃないよ。現在使われてませんって言ってるよ。
Of course.
え
I snatched the phone from Nanami and put it to my ear, and what I heard was...
おかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。番号をご確認の上、もう一度おかけ直しください。
She was right. I guess that meant it really happened a prank, huh? It was a prank where you called a bunch of random numbers simultaneously over a couple of days, and when the prank was over, both the number and the phone were destroyed or something like that. Either way, it was a pretty word-scare prank. But, didn't matter to me either way. I knew now that the mysterious call had been nothing more than a prank, and nothing else mattered anymore, definitely.
ねえ、一体何なの？
もうお前用なし。
Leaving Nanami standing there, I started to walk off, but it didn't take long for her to chase after me.
どういうことか説明してよ。
Just shut up already.
お前掃除中だろ。ゴミ箱置きっぱなしだぞ。
あ、でも説明聞いてないもん。
僕は帰る。
Without dealing with Nanami, I walked quickly to the school gate with her right on my tail.
おに、じゃあマクディおごる約束だからね。ちゃんと覚えといてよ。
知るか。
ちょっと嘘ついたの？
まあな。
Nanami stopped dead in her tracks, looking pretty upset. But I kept right on moving.
おにのバカ！
She yelled out in a voice loud enough to echo throughout the entire area. Fed up with her, I went to turn around and saw her glaring at me with her hands on her hips.
おになんて携帯の電磁波の影響で脳みそスカスカにされて死んじゃえ！
I love this sprite. I feel like this might just... I think this is one of my favorite sprites of just, like, all time. I love this fucking sprite so much. I don't know. It's so, like... It's so anime. It's cute. I like it. Yeah. Shit. Thanks to Nanami's screeching, more eyes were looking our way, though I made it a point to stand out as little responsible at school. My sister was the most obnoxious shithead of all time. Not giving a damn about what Nanami had said, I ran off towards the school gate. It was best to retreat in times like this. Nanami's voice could still be heard even after I passed through the school gate, making me feel completely and utterly drained. Such a cute fucking sprite. It really is. I love that sprite so much. But I think this is a good stopping point right here, folks. As we've delved deeper and started up chapter 4. What the fuck's gonna happen now? I don't know. Fucking anything. Literally anything could happen at this point. I still don't know what the hell this story is actually about. You know? This is what? Like fucking part 7? Hell, like 7, 8 by this point? I feel like we're like getting into this game, but like I've still like I haven't like cracked the surface of what the story is, you know? But, you know, it's still interesting, still funny. So, you know, I'll take what I can get. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. When tell me something, put it down in the comments below. Check out the Discord server on it, or my Twitter. Check the description below. And, yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!